Welcome to this explainer. Okay, what if I told you that a 5,000-year-old spiritual text and the absolute latest breakthroughs in quantum physics literally offer the exact same toolkit for finding peace today? Seriously. Today we're unpacking the Bhagavad Gita and modern neuroscience to figure out how to find real, lasting clarity in our completely chaotic modern world. So let's dive right in by asking a question that I know we all wrestle with. Why do our daily lives so often feel just overwhelming, exhausting, and full of struggle? I mean, whether it's endless smartphone notifications, crazy career anxiety, or just the rapid-fire pace of modern life, we often feel like we're tangled up in this huge mess that we just can't escape. The Bhagavad Gita has this beautifully vivid way of describing this modern chaos. It calls it the Ashwatha, the tree of samsara. Picture a massive, crazy banyan tree, but get this, it's upside down. Its roots are growing downward, straight into our daily lives, totally entangling us in endless desires, reactions, and all that anxiety. We are constantly caught up in its branches, just reacting to every little thing the world throws at us. But good news, there is absolutely a way out. Here is our roadmap to untangle ourselves. We'll start with the chaos of samsara, look at where science meets ancient wisdom, map out the true anatomy of who you are, climb the ladder of cognition, learn how to chop down that banyan tree, and finally arrive at ultimate clarity. Let's get to it. Starting off with Section 1, the chaos of samsara, navigating the inverted tree. To actually escape this entanglement, we first have to confront a massive and frankly super common misconception we hold about life itself. We tend to assume the world is designed for our personal pleasure. And what happens? When we don't get that pleasure, we suffer. But according to the Gita, that is completely backwards. Wisdom is the actual goal of life, not pleasure. Once you flip that assumption, you realize the world is actually perfectly designed, with all its ups, downs, successes, and failures, to push you toward detachment and spiritual maturity. It's a school, not an amusement park. Which brings us to Section 2, Science Meets Ancient Wisdom. Two windows, one reality. Now, you might be thinking this all sounds a little mystical, right? But check this out. Modern science is looking at the exact same reality, just through a different window. Notice how perfectly the ancient idea of the observer matches up with quantum physics. The Gita calls this the Kshetrajna, the conscious knower of the field. Meanwhile, in modern labs, it's called the quantum observer effect, where the mere act of measuring something actually alters reality. And that ancient spiritual push for equanimity? Biologists just call that your parasympathetic nervous system, your biological rust and digest response that literally kills chronic stress. It's the same thing. And it goes deeper. When the Gita warns us about the restless mind causing sorrow, modern neuroscientists are measuring the exact same phenomenon. They call it hyperactivity in your brain's default mode network, or DMN. That's the part of your brain driving all that endless, anxious rumination at 3 a.m. Even the three ancient gunas, the psychological states of harmony, hyperaction, and lethargy, map flawlessly onto modern science's dimensions of human arousal and mood. Mind-blowing, right? Moving right along to Section 3, the anatomy of you, peeling back the layers. To actually fix this restless mind and quiet down that default mode network, we need to understand the machinery we're working with. Who is the you in this equation? According to the ancient Vedantic map, you aren't just one solid physical thing. You're made of physical, subtle, and causal layers. The real you is the causal body, the Karana Sharira. That is where you wield your free will, and where you carry your deeply ingrained tendencies and habits. Your physical body and mind, those are just the tools you use. Think of it kind of like the movie Avatar, where the consciousness sits inside an organic machine and operates it from the inside to experience a new world. That's you. You are a spiritual being temporarily occupying an organic, robotic body to experience the world. Confusing yourself with the machine, like identifying purely with your physical body or your temporary social status, is exactly what causes our suffering. Remember, you are the pilot, not the robot. All right, Section 4, the Ladder of Cognition, elevating your mind. Now that we know who is operating the machine, how do we actually process reality? And maybe more importantly, how can we use this framework to guide ourselves and even our kids through a world that's just packed with doubts and struggles? Well, modern psychiatry maps out a cognitive orchestra that elevates raw data from the outside world all the way up to pure consciousness. It is literally a ladder bridging classical physics, the quantum void, and ultimate awareness. Let's break down how this builds, especially when thinking about how a child learns to navigate the world. Say they touch a hot stove. That's a raw physical signal. Their mind perceives it as information. Then they formulate the knowledge that stoves are hot. Through repeated experience, they adapt their behavior. But wisdom, that very top rung of the ladder, is understanding the why behind it all. To teach our kids the art of living peacefully, we can actually look to a beautiful example from the ancient Upanishads. They describe two birds on a tree. One bird is frantically eating all the sweet and bitter fruits of the world, getting tossed around by the flavors, while the other bird is simply watching in calm detachment. Wisdom is teaching our kids, and honestly reminding ourselves, to be that watching bird, observing our experiences without being totally consumed by them. Section 5. Felling the banyan tree, the acts of detachment.
So how do we use this supreme wisdom to fix the chaos we started with? How do we finally escape that upside-down tree? To clear the convoluted mess of samsara, we literally have to swing the axe of detachment, or vairagya. We do this through karma yoga, which just means doing your duties in the world, giving your absolute best at your job or as a parent, but completely detaching from the frantic need for a specific outcome. We practice what the ancient texts call ambitional solitude, which means actively stepping off the toxic hamster wheel of modern competition and mentally letting go of the material things we obsess over.
Chapter 15 of the Gita is incredibly specific about this. It says, "This people tree, so firmly rooted, is felled with the strong axe of detachment." Detachment is the sharp edge that severs our anxiety loop. Whether you're an adult facing brutal career burnout, or you're trying to help a teenager navigate the intense pressures of social media, this detachment is the ultimate tool. It turns off the noise so your true intellect can actually shine.
Which brings us to our final section. Achieving ultimate clarity, freedom while living.
Because once you cut down that tree of confusion, what remains is the ultimate goal. And here's the best part. You do not have to wait for the afterlife to find peace. By elevating your cognition up that ladder to wisdom, and by detaching from the ego and the physical machine, you can become a Jivan Mukta. That's a person who has attained total liberation and is completely free from sorrow, anger, fear, and jealousy right here and now while still living their daily life. You've finally reached what the Gita calls the supreme abode, or what scientific papers might call ground consciousness. It's a state of absolute, unchanging clarity. Once your consciousness reaches this level of profound realization, there's no sliding back into the chaotic world of illusion. You have completely transcended the anxious chatter of your default mode network. The tools of ancient sages and modern quantum physicists are literally in your hands right now. You are the conscious operator of your physical machine. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. How will you apply this profound clarity, not just to your own life, but to guide the next generation? Will you pick up the axe of detachment to cut through the very next worldly dilemma you face today?